Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you, and welcome to the Medi Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea. Let's see if I can turn mine around correctly. There we go. Sit back and relax, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above for the week ahead. I can't believe it. We're here in a new week already, and I started off my day thinking about all of the things that are coming up, and it's going to be sort of a crazy week, but not in a bad way, just like busy. And it already started that way for me this morning with lots of messages flying back and forth. That's usually my signal from the universe that, hey, get ready because it's going to be a crazy one. And to top that off, I wasn't even quite ready to come on air yet this morning at 8 o'clock. I don't know. It's just too dark out there. It's raining and cold and yeah. So, all right, that's enough whining from me for this morning. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I know it was a good weekend for me. Let's see who's starting out here with us this morning. Suzanne, hello, and Rebecca. Linda, wow, Linda, you've been getting up and on time and ready with us every day. And Kathy Miller, Catherine Worcester, and everybody saying good morning, good morning. So glad to see you all with us today. As we start out the day, the moon has moved into Aquarius, and Aquarius energy, of course, is out of the box thinking. It's totally different, right? It gives us the opportunity to feel things differently, to see things differently, to engage with energy on a different level. So when the moon is definitely in this kind of place, our feelings may be quirky. We may see other people doing things and we're like, what? I want to do that too. Just don't make it like cliff diving or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Whatever it is other people are doing, you don't have to do it, but isn't it interesting to think about what kinds of things there are out there to do or to see? There is a sort of fringy feel to our emotions when we have them sitting in the sign of Aquarius, as we have sudden things that change or surprises, or Uranus is one of the planets, the more modern ruler for the sign of Aquarius, and that means that we could be definitely surprised. We may have ahas. We may be shaking our heads about the things that we see in the outer world or things that happen. We can just be excited by things that are new and innovative. The moon in Aquarius also puts us in alignment with group energy, which means that we are focused maybe with our friends or the clubs or associations that we belong to. This is about networking energy. So we have, for a couple of days anyway, networking energy and friend energy. This is also the ruling sign for high tech. So I often wait to see, is there going to be some kind of breakthrough, some kind of new piece of information out there that is pointing us into some kind of genius, right? Somebody's genius being expressed out in the world. The moon in Aquarius also invites us to become more detached. There's an aloof quality around the sign of Aquarius. When the sun is in Aquarius, those people are often aloof, or people often say they're unemotional. It's not that they're unemotional, and it's not that they're, I guess aloof is probably the best word, because they tend to be detached a bit from the ramifications of the things they're doing, from the people around them. They are probably best suited for giving advice, because often they can do that as objectively as possible. So maybe today and tomorrow you find yourself a little more objective than normal or than usual. And lastly, what do we need to watch out for when the moon is in Aquarius? Well, we want to watch out for becoming too rigid. The co-ruler of the sign of Aquarius is Saturn, and Saturn is up in our faces today as well. So we want to make sure we are grounded in what we're doing, that our ideas have wings that can take us somewhere, that we don't have our head in the clouds and that we're just kind of, tripping on things. But we also don't want to stay stuck. We don't want to get into a rigid, sort of stubborn frame of mind either. We don't want to stay in that in that sort of space of getting ourselves in a rut. So we have to learn how to be yielding and going with the flow, but we also have to know that with Saturn as a co-ruler of the sign, we also have to have our boundaries, right? And that's going to be an important part of the rest of the day as we talk about what some of the energies are for today. When we look at, I don't even know where my sheet went for today because I was writing in 2 different colors. Now it's harder to find it. I was writing in purple. Nope, that isn't it. But I know today that with the moon in the sign of Aquarius, it means that we are in a square to the planet Uranus. We are in a square to the planet Mercury, and we are also trining the energy of Mars. The moon is that. It's not us personally, although, hey, we're on the earth and we're being trined, squared, hit, conjuncted, etc. So today we're going to be asked to step outside of our comfort zones. Where have you gotten comfortably entrenched in something? Today may be that day where you expect surprises that kind of shake you up a bit, that move you out of that comfort zone, that ask you to rise up to a new challenge, seeing things in new ways, doing things in new ways, letting go of that old, and shaking up your mind is included in this because the planet Mercury is here in a square to the moon in Aquarius. Shaking up your mind, what might that mean, right? Shaking up those thoughts, getting out of that old rut of thinking. Later in the week we have Mercury moving into the shadow of the next retrograde. So we'll have opportunity then to start taking a look at what is in our minds. Where are we holding old patterns? So maybe now is a good time to start shaking it up consciously, right? Consciously shaking up your mind so that you can see where maybe you've been, entrenched, stuck. Let's see. More people are joining us this morning. We have Ashley. Good morning. Kathy Miller. Well, Kathy, all I can say is it must be coming your direction because it's pouring. Ashley, Brenda, Mimi, Asa, Chanel, Colleen, Victoria, great to see you. And Suzanne says, yes, my daughter's an Aquarius, very detached. Aha. Kathy Miller, I have many things to do, projects to finish, lists to make. Bye, Kathy. Allison says, good morning, everyone. It's great to see you, Allison. I hope, Kathy, that you're taking time for you as well. You always seem to be running off in 15 different directions. So take some time for rest and relaxation too. Okay, so moon squaring Uranus and Mercury today. Both of those planets, Mercury and Uranus, rule various components of our mind and the way that our mind thinks. Mercury specifically rules the lower mind, so the calculating, the data, the memories, the I think, therefore I am kind of thing. But Uranus elevates that thinking to a higher level. It sort of is that opening that we think of where ideas, that lightning bolt comes out of the sky and you're like, whoa, why didn't I ever see that before? Why didn't I do that before? So we have a lot of things here. When we have a square, remember that's energy that's sort of sending out challenges to us to rise above or to do things differently. We may be faced with some form of a challenge. And that challenge is often like the fire burning in the pot, causing those water molecules to boil. We're not really a recipe for soup here, but we are a sort of a recipe for what's lying there that is ready to be ignited and ready for us to be, expressing out there in the world. So when I say shaking up your mind, it's not so much, that there's new and revolutionary type things. It's more that, where have you gotten into a comfort zone that you need to be shaken out of? Where are your thought patterns going round and round and round? Today we're going to talk a lot about the Gate 48's gene key, or the gene key 48's highest expression, which is wisdom. And what is wisdom after all? And where does it reside? And is it really in the mind, right? Is it in the mind? So we have a lot to talk about in that respect, and I'm wondering if maybe the square from the moon to Uranus and Mercury aids us in breaking loose those old patterns so that we can engage in the world in a new way, or engage our minds in a new way, or, as I think you're going to see here today, engaging our bodies in a new way. So that'll be kind of fun. We'll get to that toward the end of our time together here this morning. So as we start to move on here, we also have the sun squaring Saturn today. So the sun, the full force of the light of your identity, the light of our identity right now in Libra, wanting equilibrium, wanting balance and harmony, and Saturn representing structures and forms, integrity, your authority, the boundaries, the limits that you work within. So when the sun, whose light just shines out everywhere, meets up with Saturn, whose light needs to be shined in a specific area, in a specific way, at a specific time, for a specific audience, feels restrictive to us. So some of you today may feel like you're, chomping at the bit, or that you're, trying to move forward, but something's holding you back. That energy is what we would call boundaries, right? And in the boundaries, we can focus our energy. And it is the skin, the integument, right? Your skin holds all of the parts of you together so that you're not just like a pile, right, of on the floor here, or that your bones and your muscles and your organs are all exposed to the outer world. So your skin is protective. So there is a bit of protection within boundaries and staying within limits. Protection from maybe becoming engaged in things that aren't worthwhile, that aren't necessarily the right things for you. So when you are staying within boundaries, it can be very effective at helping you get to where you really want to go without being all out there in, and sort of going into places that are not correct for you. So it has a protective ability there. This is also energy today where we want to be real, we want to be practical, we want to be responsible. Responsible isn't just about taking on the mantle of the job to be done. It's about being able to respond in the moment. Response able. And we talk about that often with Saturn, because we think that responsible is about, we have to do the right thing. We have to, be the support for our families or our communities, or, for whomever it is that we feel responsible for. But responsible is really just about our ability to be in response rather than to be reactive. So we have reaction and we have responsibility, response. So we're looking at what is the difference there today. And what obstacles, blocks, restrictions are you dealing with in whatever it is that in your world that you want to, where you want to grow and expand. Remember, Jupiter's still in Sagittarius, and it's about, we are evolving, and we want to evolve and do things in big ways. But then there's Saturn, right? And Saturn is like holding you to being practical and down to earth, and what's real, what is real and what is practical. So in that way, sometimes the blocks and restrictions that come up, which are really meant to organize you to be in the right spot for you, it feels like we are being restricted or blocked. And so today we may feel like we are being, restricted in some way. But I think with this kind of energy, sometimes it allows us to see things in a new way, right? If you stop motion for a while, if you stop pushing and just look around you and see what's going on, then you have an opportunity to see things in a new way and maybe even find the real path forward for you. So I'm not going to say today isn't a day to really make progress, because I think we can, but I think we might need to reevaluate first, or evaluate first if we haven't done that yet, to be able to see things in a new way. All right. Any questions out there about that? Linda, good morning. She says, can you do a birthday card for me? Happy birthday to you today, Linda. I'm now considered a crone. Well, there's wisdom there, right? Wisdom in the croneship. We'll talk about wisdom today too. And yes, we'll pull some cards for you for your birthday. And Marjorie says, happy birthday to you, Linda. Another year filled with an abundance of your favorite things. That's a great wish. And Susan Glavin has joined us. Good morning. And good explanation of boundaries from Marjorie. Good. Kristen, good morning to you. All right. So if anybody's having questions or anything about what we're talking about, please fill them out in the chat and I will scroll through there and take a look. All right, let's take a look at the week ahead. The one thing about Monday is we get to look down the line and see what's coming so that we can be a little bit prepared. And of course, we go into the details of these things each day as they come up. But looking ahead this week, we have another planet, Venus, moving into Scorpio out of the sign of Libra. That will leave just Mars and the Sun in Libra. And Venus will join Mercury in Scorpio, taking that deep dive. We'll talk more about that. She actually does that tomorrow. Mercury shadow is of the next retrograde coming up on the 11th, which is Friday. And it's just the shadow period. It's not retrograde yet, but you can start to see the handwriting on the wall about how might Mercury in retrograde show up for you this time. And remember, it is retrograding the entire time in the sign of Scorpio. So there's depth here. And it's about igniting your passions in a very deep way. It is really about letting go of fear or dealing with fear in a correct way and not letting it hold you back or stop you from doing the things that you really want to do. Late Saturday, we'll have Venus in an opposition to Uranus. With Venus moving into Scorpio and then immediately into an opposition with Uranus, I would be very watchful of your finances. I would be watchful of the economy. I think it might be time to put money away or to curb spending in some way, to reduce debt in some way, not out of a sense of fear, but out of a sense of we have a lot of boundary limitation energy coming at us as we move through the month of October and into November and December and January. And that limiting energy is very similar to what happened in 2007 and 2008 when our economy tanked. And I'm not saying that the economy is going to tank. We're not really set up for that kind of exact repeat. But we are, possibly looking at this lull. And in that lull, people may feel like they need to react. What did we just talk about? We don't want you to react. We want you to be in response. So to be able to take a step as opposed to reaction against whatever's happening. So just being aware of that, right? That Venus in Scorpio really favors saving money, paying off debts, right? Not taking on any more burdens as far as it is financially. The fact that Mercury will retrograde in Scorpio makes me think about money again and repeating patterns of money issues or issues with aligning with our values. And that might mean we see expressions of greed out there. We may see tumbling stocks. We may see the stock market tumbling. We may see or experience the feeling of constriction in money. So just being aware, not being scared, just being aware. And then of course, Venus opposing Uranus makes me think about surprises, like we don't see it coming and boom, there it is. And then on Sunday, we have the full moon in Aries. It'll be the moon in Aries and the sun in Libra. It is quite the moon this time, and we'll take it apart and look at all the different aspects that the moon and the sun will be making during this time. It is really another one of those moons that makes me think of, what was it the other day that we had that I said was the alpha and the omega, where we have this feeling of, something completing in order for something new to be born. And that moon is very interesting in all of that. So, all right, now today's Pleiadian-Earth energy is a 2. We started the new week yesterday with that's what it was. That's where the alpha and the omega was. Yesterday was the 1 universal energy day of new beginnings, of really moving forward, and it was caught up with Ahau, or the energy of endings or completions in the Earth energies of the Pleiadian calendar. So then today what we find ourselves is in the 2 energy, but 2 in the being of the Earth energy, which is Emish in the Mayan calendar, which was the cosmic alligator or the cosmic crocodile, the mother energy, the birthing energy. So we have the number 2. Anywhere you are in this universe, we would be resonating with the number 2, which is about duality, seeing, and accepting opposite perspectives, being able to hold the space within you for those oppositions, right? To be able to not judge it as wrong if it's different from you, but just to be able to see it and accept that it's there in your outer world or maybe in your inner world. It's there in the world, and to be accepting of those perspectives without judging them, pushing them away, or telling the other person that they are wrong, being able to see and accept those opposite views. The energy of being, or Amish, is nurturing energy. It is, like I said, the cosmic mother. It is the great birthing of something new. It is creative energy. It is about starting new things. And on the negative side, we have to watch out for some of those immature feelings like being needy, right? Or being overly reactive, and also being critical of others, critical of oneself. So interesting day all the way around, don't you think? Kind of, there's a mixed bag of energies you feel sort of today. Like, what direction do we go in? I think you just hold space until it becomes clear what direction you go in. And if you don't know where you go, then you just hold, right? And then when it opens up, you move. And when it closes back up, you wait. So I think that's kind of an interesting start to our week. Okay, questions, anybody? Asa, happy solar return. Linda, Susan says good morning. Good morning to you. Elisa, good morning. Marjorie says be practical, prepare, be aware, and get wisdom. I feel stronger already. Awesome. Colleen, good morning to you. It is great to see everybody out there and having a great day, I hope. Okay, now we have been doing sort of that deep dive into the gate 48 in your gene keys or your human design. It doesn't matter which. We're talking about the gene keys just looks at your human design in a more holographic manner, meaning we're seeing into your DNA through layers, right? The layers, the shadow layers, which are also related to fear, the gift layers when we're able to pull ourselves up from that fear level and live in a new energy, and then the siddhi, or the siddhic energies, which are the highest expression of those gene keys or of those gates that we're aspiring to, that we are trying to evolve toward. I remember one day listening to something that Richard, it could have been a conference we were at. I don't remember exactly. It could have been during my ambassador training, where we were talking about how much time do we want to spend in these levels. Well, we definitely need to be aware of the fear level, but he said really only about 10% of our time should be focused there. And then the rest of the time should be focused, so 90% of the time, focused on the gift level and the reaching of the siddhic level. So we have to understand that we are mostly living in this shadow level, but what we want to aspire to is to move up out of that shadow level to the gift level. And when we do, we find that we're holding the key to unlocking everything that we ever desired, right? Or whatever it is that we were here, in what capacity we were here to share of ourselves. Now, let's just review really quickly, since there's a weekend between us of energy. Let's take a look at what we were talking about in terms of this particular energy. So we started off talking about inadequacy, which is the shadow energy of the gate 48. Why are we focusing on the gate 48? Because the sun is sitting there, and Venus and Mercury have been there, and Mars is headed in that direction. So we want to be able to focus on this energy, because the fear of inadequacy, or that fear that's embodied within that gate, can stop us from moving on in our lives, right? It can stop us from really living the highest expression of who we are out there in the world. So we went through this, and we talked about the fact that this is all about human fear, and that the fear of not having the right skills, the right knowledge, the right whatever it is that we needed. So we look outside of us for those answers, and the manipulation potential that pops up out there as we are manipulated, or as we manipulate the information out there to help overcome that feeling of emptiness that we have within us. Now, when we move out of that fear and that uncertainty, what we find then is that we have the ability to tap into resourcefulness, and that it is something that comes up from the well within us, the deep, the void within us. In fact, in the I Ching, this is called the well. And what we find here is that resourcefulness emerges from the deepest parts of our beingness and is not something that we can gain from the outer world. And it requires trust on our part, trust that the answer always emerges at the right time, and that the fear and anxiety, the stress, the depression that we may feel over not having an answer begin to fade as we trust that that's within us. And then it becomes self-fulfilling, right? As we are able to just tap in and we can hold space waiting for the right answer to emerge from us. And that resourcefulness then reveals that inadequacy is an illusion, that we are complete, that we are whole, that we can trust that we have everything we need deep within us. In that process, there was surrender, right? Surrendering. At the moment of fear, if we can be unreactive, if we can be vulnerable and unknowing, we can say to ourselves, I don't know. Then we are open to receive the answers, right? From our higher self, from our inner self. The more you trust not knowing, right? The more you are deconditioning yourself from having to know. Right? Then we discovered that from that, your gifts and your talents, and they begin to emerge through that resourcefulness. You always have everything you need within you. And that hidden timing also comes out, right? Being in the right place at the right time when you're not worried about having to be somewhere to meet up with your destiny, then the right timing emerges, the right rhythms emerge that get you into the right track and into the right groove. And even in that, we see that prosperity emerges. And I think I left you at the point where we said prosperity versus wealth, right? We were going to talk about the difference between that in terms of being resourceful versus having to scrape and scrimp and save and look and for financial support in the outer world. All right, I think that just about does that one, right? Any questions about that or anything that we covered? If so, go ahead and type them in there. Okay, so let's talk about prosperity versus wealth. We talk about these things, there's a lot out there. Oh my God, there's so much out there. If you just Google the word prosperity, you're going to come up with all kinds of abundance schemes. You're going to come up with all these ideas of being true wealth, what wealth is. And the question becomes for each one of us individually is, what does wealth mean for you versus what does prosperity mean to you? Are they different? Well, in the Gene Keys, according to Richard Rudd, there is a difference, right? That prosperity requires a little more than enough, right? A little more than enough, meaning that you always know that you can go back into the well and pull out at any moment whatever it is that you need, right? That you don't have to go to the outer world to make more money, to get more toys, to get more things, to feel resourceful, because it's not out there, it's in here. Right? And that you begin to trust that you're always going to receive. This is prosperity. This is the definition he's giving us of prosperity, that you will always receive the exact support needed when you need it without stockpiling it. Now look at wealth. Wealth is a lot more than enough. That his words, not mine. A lot more than enough. And it's formed from the need for security. If I only have enough money in the bank, then I won't have to worry about paying my bills. I'll be happy. If I have enough money in the bank, then I can do what I want and I'll be happy. The search for happiness is rooted in an illusion, right? The illusion that something out there, like wealth, is going to fulfill you in here. So it's rooted, literally, wealth is rooted in the shadow frequency. I know that's like thinking upside down, but I get it. I get it in a way that I find defies language. And I'm hoping you guys are sort of tapping into that feel too. Prosperity requires little more than enough. I have little more than enough here. I'm great, right? Wealth is really rooted in that feeling of I might lose money tomorrow, or I might lose my ability to earn money tomorrow. And so I'm stockpiling against the future. And therefore it is rooted literally in the shadow energy or the shadow frequency of that gene key. Likewise, resourcefulness always ensures that the right people that want to receive your gifts will be there at the moment you are ready to share them with them. Your job is to be ready to serve, to be ready to share, to be ready to be Johnny on the spot when someone needs what it is that you have. Showing up, that's your job. Not going out there and looking for. Nowhere here did I say that you have to go out there and look for customers, look for clients. You just have to be there, ready when they find you. Now, does that mean that you don't, make your wares known? No, you do that. But that is ancillary to the fact that you are ready and prepared to share the magic of your gifts and talents when people show up. The people that are ready to receive your gifts will be there in the right time, at the right place, and in the right way for the right opportunity. Okay, now let's take a look at resourcefulness and energy. So we were just looking at it through prosperity and wealth. Now let's look at it through energy. And in energy, we can look at it in two ways. We can look at it as an explosion, which is an external expression of energy, or we can look at it as an implosion, which is an internal expression of energy. Explosion has an outer world focus. Implosion has that inner world focus. The combustion energy of explosion is masculine. It is the masculine energy. The feminine energy of implosion is the receptive. It's definitely the well that we've been talking about. If we are reliant on the explosion energies, on the combustion engine sort of energies, then we create an energy crisis as resources dwindle. It sort of happens, right? It's happened. It's happening. Resources are dwindling because we're looking outside of us for that energy. Where if we unlock the energy without the masculine energy of ignition, combustion, if we look to the feminine, receptive, we have breakthrough energy. We have the idea that of free energy. Right? Free energy is out there. It only became not free energy when corporations picked it up and thought, oh, we can make a profit here. Right? Greed entered into the field. So resourcefulness, as it relates to energy, is exactly the opposing side to greed. They're mutually exclusive. Right? Greed is coming from a fear that there isn't enough, so I have to gather all the toys and all the power and all the money to me. And then resourceful, they feel resourceful. That feels like you're resourceful. But I think we've seen now that that is a false assumption, that it's really based in fear, and it keeps you holding to the fear. And, going back to the prosperity versus wealth, if you look at some of the wealthiest people in the world, are they really any happier than you are? Likely not, right? So consider that, right? Is that real? So does wealth necessarily equate to more happiness? Does having all of the resources at your fingertips in the outer world really equate to prosperity or happiness? I think what we're seeing here is no, it does not. All right. Sounds so much like the role of the projector. Yes. Hi, Jan. Nice to see you out there. So let's talk about wisdom. Wisdom is the highest expression of the gene key 48. And wisdom, what is it? Wisdom. And these are going to kind of wig you out, because I know I was dealing with this myself this morning as I'm reading through this, as I'm rereading this and going, okay, wait a minute. Wisdom is inner knowledge that allows you to see beyond normal awareness. And it arrives through not knowing. Knowing takes great effort, whereas not knowing is already inside of you. Let me say that again. Knowing takes great effort, while not knowing is already inside of you. Wisdom then becomes unsafe and unsecure. Let's talk about that. Notice I didn't say insecure, right? Unsecure. What is unsecure versus insecure? And Richard Rudd in the Gene Key, if you read this Gene Key, you're going to see all of this, and it'll blow your mind. So unsecure. Unsecure is where you embrace your urge to escape fear and to realize that every fear out there is really deeper down just the fear of death or dying, right? Then if you are willing to surrender all of those questions that you have about what to do, where to go, who to be, if you surrender all of that back to the infinite and accept and believe that you don't know, then you're embracing your urge to escape that fear. You're gaining wisdom. Insecure now. Insecure versus unsecure. Insecure is kidnapped or you're hijacked by your fear. Fear kidnaps you and takes you for a ride through the illusion where there are no answers. Right? You're out there skimming around looking for the answers in that outer world, and they don't exist out there because resourcefulness comes from within. It's all in the well, right? Wisdom then cannot be comprehended by the mind. It's not available to the mind. It is feminine in essence, and the great goddesses represented that for us, right? The goddesses, the goddess energies were about taking us into wisdom, right? And wisdom is a body function. I was going to read something to you. I had my Gene Keys book out for a reason here this morning, and I was going to read you something about this. What was it? By the way, this would be okay. Wisdom. This is actually from the last page of the Wisdom Siddhi of Gene Key 48 in the Gene Keys book. Now, my book probably looks different from yours because it's an older version, but the newer version is kind of a dark blue with the genes on it, with the codons in it. So it says, there is nothing wiser in all of humanity than the physical body. When a human being discovers the secret, they begin to tap the source of universal wisdom. It isn't in your mind. It's in the body. Wisdom is rooted in the utter trust of your body. Through the eyes of wisdom, everything within the sphere of human experience can be reduced to simple physical sensation, even thinking. The body must be allowed to feel the way it feels. It must be allowed to think the way it thinks, and it must be allowed to act the way it acts. Nothing the body does can ever be wrong. It is the false concept that there is a way to be harmonious and a way to be inharmonious that is the root of all human dilemmas. There is nothing but harmony, and there is nothing but wisdom. You must come to realize through whatever experiences the body follows that your acts, thoughts, and movements emerge from the totality rather than having an independent source. Not only is there no individual choice in our lives, there is no chooser. So the whole concept of freedom and determinism goes out the window. So we began the 48th gift by seeing how inadequate human beings can feel when faced with the many challenges we each have in our lives. We are designed to feel this inadequacy because it is the beginning of the journey. There is wisdom even within this inadequacy because it is felt by the body. Your mental anxiety is also an aspect of your bodily wisdom, as are your desires, fantasies, anger, contempt, and lust. Everything begins with the body and ends with the body. If every feeling is allowed and lived out fully and in trust, then this deep inner vibration of fear within you must eventually fizzle out. The fear is really the fear of fear itself. That's amazing. And when it is looked squarely in the face, then all other fears are simply reduced to bodily sensations that continually arise and disappear again. At this stage of deep wisdom, you can no longer discriminate between physical sensations. The feeling of intense bliss, for example, is no different from the feeling of lust or even physical pain. The body simply follows its own wisdom, and this wisdom dissolves that which identifies with the sensations. It leaves behind an absolutely ordinary human being. Woohoo! Wisdom. Not to be gained from out there, but your body is always giving you, tapping into wisdom from deep within. I love that. It can't be comprehended by the mind. So as many books as you might read, as many tapes or CDs or DVDs that you watch or listen to, you're still on the search for that, or on the hunt for that outside of you. Doesn't mean we don't look out there or learn new things. No, it's that we just don't identify with all of that, because when push comes to shove, it's really deep within you where the wisdom is housed. Gotta love that. All right, quiet out there. Is that because everybody's like gobsmacked or what now? Let me know if you have any questions. That completes our look at the 48th gene key. We'll start diving into the 57th gene key tomorrow, because the sun begins its move out of the 48 and into the 57, which is the gate of intuition, the fear of the future in your human design or in your gene keys. All right, so Linda, since it's your birthday today, let me get my books out of the way here. Stay. Let's pull a card for you. All right. We also have Ace's birthday this week. My husband's birthday is this week. His twin brother's birthday's this week. It's a busy week, birthday-wise. I'm sure there are others of you out there whose birthdays are coming up. Linda, this is what card just pulled out for you. It like leapt out. Card 25, round and round. Card 25 is a 7. It's very spiritual. So let's take a look at what this card means for you. 25. And it was right side up, by the way. It came out like this. So the essential meaning, the spiral quality of events when a lesson isn't quite integrated. Cycles you are challenged to break, revisiting a pattern from a new perspective. The Oracle's message says, the appearance of this card is a reminder that although it may appear that you've gone backward, the truth is that you are standing at a higher level, looking down into your circumstances. You will learn something, do something better, and break a cycle set up in the past. You actually have a bird's eye view of your initial footprints and can access the wisdom and lessons learned. If you're in a scenario that appears to be an echo of something that's already happened in the past in your work life or in your money, it is because you're being invited to see what you couldn't see before. This is a perfect time for you to look at the deeper motives you have and your attraction to the opportunities and people who have entered your life to be a part of your journey to prosperity. Who helps you navigate? Who sabotages you? Who supports you? What are the familiar signs and your responses to them when you find yourself in a repeat of a pattern in the past? It's a good time to get a coach or a mentor who can help you see what you can't on your own. Repeat what works, not what doesn't. Then you will free yourself from the old cycles and cease going round and round. Wow, I think that's awesome. All right, Linda, that's for your birthday. I'm going to again go into the deck, and we're going to pull a card that we can use to represent the energy of the week ahead. And I'm also going to pull an animal card. Yes. That can help us on our way this week. Oh, gosh. A change in the wind upside down. A change in the wind upside down. It's card number 12. The zebra with the clock tower looking thing, and the up top, the wind blowing, and a change in the wind, but it was in reverse, which is protection. 12. The essential meaning for the card says, a sense that unseen change has been initiated, preparation for a storm, awareness that your plans are not on firm ground, feeling a shift, uncertainty about which direction the winds will blow. And the protection message says, there are conditions brewing in your life you have no control over. Don't fight them. Change is inevitable and is for the best, for the higher good. Even if this storm blows away the structures you think you've built your dreams on, all will turn out as it should. You will have a renewed clarity and strength to do something even better. Spirit is your ally. I know change is scary for a lot of people, so, or not knowing, right? That not knowing. So we have a change in the wind. Let's see what animal can go with us in that journey. Ay, ay, ay. Jan says, death is the most emotion that one feels. I think what you mean is that it's that depth of fear of dying. Dawn says, so many good insights this morning. Dawn, I wonder how your thing went on Saturday. Ooh, that card just flipped over. Does it want us to see it? It does. It is cow energy. She was upside down, but I'm going to read both because I'm not quite certain if it was upside down or not, the way it sort of jumped out. Cow spirit says that the miracles are endless. The miracles are endless. So, and Dawn, I see that you didn't die over having to do what you were doing that day. So this is awesome. You're with us. And I'm sure it was great. Okay. Cow spirit, the miracles are endless. You are at a beautiful point in your life today, for your needs are being met effortlessly and in so many ways. Fully embrace this truth by focusing on all you have right now, including the positive relationships that sustain you, the work you are proud to do to contribute to the world, and the activities that inspire you and nourish your soul. Cow spirit nudges you to pay attention because this is the perfect time to focus on the choices, actions, and behaviors that you know feed your soul and bring your heart contentment. Now is also the time when you will see many of your projects and commitments that were set in motion in the past begin to yield valuable gifts that will bring you joy and love and sustain you for a long time to come. That totally makes sense since we're in the shadow of the full moon coming at the end of this week. Stay positive and share your well-being with others. The more you share, the more you will manifest, so be generous. Cow spirit promises you will never run out of miracles. And in protection, assuming that it could have been upside down, Cow spirit asks you to pay attention to how you nourish your mind, body, and spirit, because right now you are wobbling around like a newborn calf on its unsteady legs. Perhaps you've been spending too much time distracting yourself on the internet, or obsessing over a relationship, or choosing to eat food that is not healthy. Whatever it is, you're being nudged to assess how you are looking after your needs. Remember, the universe has a way of reflecting back to you events and conditions that match how you treat yourself. Cow spirit reminds you that the universe wants to give you the very best, but needs you to do your part to participate and nourish your well-being. Heed her message and everything will shift in your favor. Well, those are both really good cards. Cow. She's just so beautiful. Okay. Let me see. Last comments here. Catherine says, I recently printed out my gene key. I think you're talking about your profile, the hologenetic profile that looks like, a bunch of bubbles on a chart. She says, just trying to figure it out how it pertains to me. You're welcome, sweet Linda. And Jan, could I have a card, please? I don't normally do that on Monday, Jan, but hey, I will do that for you. But let me get these cards in the right place. And before I do that, Catherine, the hologenetic profile that you've gotten, or your gene keys chart, you need to have the gene keys book to go along with that in order to really go through the contemplation of what those gene keys mean. There are 3 sequences within that gene key chart. One is called the activation sequence. It is the 4 corners of the chart. And then there's the Venus sequence, which are the red, I think the red dots that hold genetic information for you about your relationships. And there are 3 of them that are the ones we talked about last week, the SQ, IQ, and EQ, which are about the 3 main development periods of time in your life and what gene key was ruling that time period for you. And so and then there's the pearl sequence, which are the blue bubbles, and that takes you to your prosperity. So it's a series in there that isn't something you're just gonna, there's nobody that can actually give you all of that information. You've got the chart, follow it, and start up at the top, and go through those 4 green ones that are the outer, those are the activation sequence. Get the book and read deeply into the gene keys that are sitting in those positions for you. That would be the best place to start. I would start even with just the top one and understand it deeply and relate that to, because that's the sun in your natal chart, right? So it has the most power. And then there are other ways for you to look at that, but you've got to understand who you are first, right? So start with that top gene key. Okay, Jan Harley. That was, I hope everybody kind of understands that. The gene key chart, it's not like anybody can actually just sit there and do a reading for you of it, because it's a process. It is sort of a representation of the true you, and you've got to take your time to find it, to go through that. Here you go, Jan. 36. Come to the edge. Come to the edge. Sounds like you're ready to jump off or jump into something. So let's take a look at what that card means for you. And come to the edge was card 36, which is a 9. Something ending, so something else can begin. 36, not 39. Okay. The meaning of the card come to the edge is courage, taking a leap of faith, overcoming fear, and accepting risk. And the Oracle's message says, facing the unknown is the only choice you really have right now if you want to progress. It's okay to be afraid. Now is the time to take a risk that is not calculated, to feel the exhilaration as you ready yourself for a leap of faith. Spirit is present, so let go of fear. You are called to express your true self. Listen to your heart and soul, not your head. Always the hard part, right? Come to the edge and discover that you can fly. You must step into the unfamiliar so that you may find your miracles. And if there ever was a time for you to take a leap of faith into the unknown, it is now. This is the perfect moment to take a big risk. The unknown is the only choice now, and if you come to the edge, you will discover treasure beyond your wildest dreams. Allow your courage to lead you in spite of your fears. You don't need to know the exact form of what you're going for. The essence is much more powerful, and Spirit has a way of delivering an even better version of prosperity than you can imagine. Take that leap. The results will be amazing. Wow, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Step out. I think it goes along with the moon in Aquarius today that we were talking about, getting outside of your comfort zone, right? Take a leap of faith. All right. You're welcome, sweetie. And Catherine, the door moved twice behind me. You know what's weird about that, Jan, is I was in the bathroom this morning doing my makeup, and all of a sudden I heard this flapping noise, like somebody moved behind me. And I'm home alone. My cat is asleep on the couch, and I'm in the bathroom by myself. But I turned around and looked to see, like, I thought my cat was in the bathroom with me, but she wasn't. And I actually got scared, which I never do. I usually just welcome whoever's here and just, open arms kind of thing and go, yeah, okay. But I actually had fear like rippling through me, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone. So it was interesting today to talk about fear. And I don't need to know who it was that was here, but there's often a presence here with me. I don't know who it is. I don't feel like it's, negative or scary. Unfortunately, though, this weekend I watched a lot of Ancient Aliens episodes, and immediately I went to their aliens among us. And there may be, but I don't know that they're here to hurt us or harm us. So the fear is sort of, it's just a place, right? It's just a place and an experience. Get through it, move on. But thanks for telling me about that, because it does make me go, yeah, okay, there's probably something going on here. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful day. This is an interesting week for me. Thursday, I will not be on air. I will probably write up something for that day. But when I looked at the calendar for that day, there's not much going on astrologically anyway. I am taking my youngest daughter and her boyfriend to the airport, so I have to leave early, so I won't be able to be with you. But so I will be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and see you on Friday. But Thursday will be the one day I won't be here. All right, guys, take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.